Alright, this is the lamprey. If we look over here to the anterior side, we have many major components. The first one you'll see here, kind of noticeable, is the nostril. Now this right here, it detects chemical scents in the water and sends it to the brain. Next notable thing we see here is the eyes right here. This little circle right here should have it on the other side as well, right here. Now this receives a visual signal and sends it to the brain. Next thing we can see here towards the anterior side are the external gill slits. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this is one way that you could tell that this is a male because it'll have the 7 gill slits. And water is released through these gill slits right here. And also when attached, water can enter or exit through the slits. Next thing we see towards the posterior side, we have the posterior dorsal fin, which is right here. It's sort of cut off, but this is it, the one that starts forming like this. Now that is, it helps with steering when it's moving. Then we have this one. This is the anterior dorsal fin. Now this mainly just helps it maintain an upright orientation in the water. And not visible here would be the caudal fin, which it uses for locomotion and propel itself to the wall in the water.
This is the digestive system of the lamprey, which contains the teeth, and it has about 11 to 12 rows of big teeth that angle back into their mouths. And the row farthest inside contains the teeth which are most impressive in size, and they are weakly developed in adults, and there are none in juveniles. And the teeth help them attach to the fish, which they feed off mainly off of the body fluids from the fish. Next we have the esophagus, and it is used to conduct food into the intestine. It is usually collapsed, which makes it difficult to see, to identify. And since there is no stomach, the esophagus leads straight into the anterior intestine. And then over here we have the liver, and the liver secretes bile, and it acts as a digestive enzyme to break down food particles. And then the gallbladder is located in the anterior portion of the liver, as you can see right here. Okay, and here we have the intestine, which runs all the way back to the posterior end, and it is used for protein absorption and mucus secretion. And here we have the nervous system, which includes a pair of sensory organs, which are the eyes and the nostril, as mentioned earlier, which they sense chemical scents. And then over here we have the brain, this small little hole. And the brain structure is fairly simple compared to other vertebrate animals, and it also happens to be very small. Okay. And then here we have the spinal cord, which is this here, and it transmits neural signals from the brain to the rest of the body, and is located closer to the dorsal side of the lamprey. Okay. Here we have the respiratory system, which includes the gills, and they are pore-like openings, and each pouch contains a separate exit port to the outside. When the lamprey is feeding and it is attached to a fish, the external gill slits are used to draw water directly into the respiratory tube.
Next is the circulatory system. It consists of the heart, which is located right here. It's very similar to other fish in that it has a 2-chambered heart consisting of the atrium and the ventricle. Oxygen-poor blood flows into the atrium and exits the ventricle using the ventral aorta, which is this tube-like, if you can see here, that kind of encircles the heart. Now the oxygen-poor blood goes through here into the gills, where they get reoxygenated. Once they're reoxygenated, they exit through the dorsal aorta, which is this red line coming out of here at the gills, into the rest of the body. This process then, once the body uses up the oxygen, it returns back and the cycle starts over again.
Next, we have the excretory system, which involves the kidney, which is this dark line that runs all the way down to the posterior end of the lamprey, and it's right above the intestine. It's responsible for filtering out waste from the blood, like ions, water, and other nitrogenous waste. It's also responsible for maintaining osmoregulation, which is the balance between salts in the body and the salts in the environment, so it maintains the ionic balance, and it also secretes ammonia.
Next, we have the reproductive system of the lamprey. This one is a male. We said that in the beginning because it has the 7 slits over here. And females don't have the 7 slits. They usually just have 2 openings. Right here, right under the intestines, right next to the liver, are the male's testes. As you can see, kind of leaf-like, and it looks like it's folded. Now these run all the way from here where the liver is and where the intestine is, right here, all the way to the posterior side of the lamprey. Now the males have smaller, in this case, gonads than the females, as the females' gonads contain eggs. And when the female lays eggs, they lay about 35,000 to 100,000 eggs, which are immediately fertilized by the male. The adult lamprey, both male and female, usually die after this process.
Another important part of the lamprey is the notochord, and the location of it is right here. It lies along the anterior-posterior axis from the head to all the way to the tail. It's closer to the dorsal surface as well. Its main function is mechanical support for the body. It is an area where muscle attaches. It's also a vertebral precursor, and it provides signals to the surrounding tissue for developmental purposes. And it's the description of it is basically a flexible rod-like cord made of material similar to cartilage.